Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our session. I'm going to talk about why your AI deserves better data. And like we are Objectways, started like 5 years ago. We are a social impact data labeling company, data annotation company, focusing mainly with respect to anything with respect to computer vision models, to generative AI, to any NLP solutions. So we are in the midst of AI revolution, right? Like there's been a model introduced every week, better performance. The models are like throughput is better. Like there is latencies are like lowering every week. But in spite of that, when the model gets deployed in production, like many times, oftentimes the model fails. Like it's because like not mostly because the data is not right. Many AI model fails today, not because of the algorithm, not because of the way it's been trained, it's only because of the poor data quality. So oftentimes, when you introduce biased and noisy data set into your model training, your output is also going to be bad. If data is going to be the new oil, why would you feed a model with crude instead of clean data, right? So, working in this industry for over 5 years, we identify what all the few things that keep degrading the model performance. First one is ambiguity. So what does it mean? Let's say that like you are training a self-driving car, and if two annotators are annotating the data differently, one calls it as, let's say, as a debrief, the second person calls that as something else, like which one is right? The model cannot like automatically predict what it doesn't see. So ambiguity is one of the main things like when it comes to weak predictions. The other thing is assumptions, right? We have been reached out by a customer, asked us to collect 3,000 something audios from 3,000 different demographic, but they want the audio quality to be as good as recorded in a studio. But when we asked them about like how is this model going to be used, we were told that this model is going to be used to train the basically like they create a vacuum cleaner. They want to understand the voices and then react accordingly. But if you are going to record the whole thing in a in a studio, when it comes to the real world, this model is definitely going to fail. So once we explain to them and what are all the key features about like how we need to change this, we have to go back and redo the whole data collection process. And the third one is the artifacts. If you are let's say that you are using the same camera, and then if you are capturing the data sets, let's say that I wanted to identify specific objects, but if the cameras are recording in a very specific unidirection, and then if it is also done using daylight, and if the model is getting deployed at a night time, this model is definitely going to fail, right? That is one of the key factors with respect to the. So you need the real world data for the models to perform during the training itself. The final thing is the missing data. Oftentimes that the missing edge cases, right? Like you always want to cover every use cases that you wanted to the model to handle. Model will never learn the things that it doesn't see. Models are not super smart. It always mimics what it sees on the market. So what does it mean, right? AI doesn't learn what you think. It learns from what you see. Especially this is very, very true for computer vision models. So that's the reason you capture all edge cases, take from different directions, many different cameras, and that's exactly what the model learns from. And again, quality and diversity of the data is very, very important. So when it comes to data collection kind of use cases, typically we recommend customers to collect data from. So for this use cases that I was talking about, the customer wants data from anywhere age group between 15 to like 50. But unfortunately, but if you look into it, like this model is going to be used for like all sort of age groups. So we have to go back and collect data from like all diversity standpoint. So quality and diversity are no longer like they are not like negotiable. They need to be there. And finally, when you are training the model, most of the time, poor data results in hallucination, bias, and poor generalization. For example, like we have been asked to collect and train it, like help to train a model, and most of the data sets that we have collected is all from the European countries. But when we ask like where the model will be deployed, it says like it will be used both US as well as in the Europe. So it doesn't make sense. So we went back to the customer, talked about it, like, redo the whole thing, and then we have to collect from all like multiple locations. So what do we do? Like, we are a 2,200 employee company, started as a 20 people workforce like back in 2020 as a social impact project out of a small second tier city in South India. Today, we are a 2,200 global workforces across multiple continents. Also, like, during this process, we have like, acquired a lot of domain-specific, domain-trained annotators. Why is this important? They are no longer like, they are not a gig workers. Why Mechanical Turk and other things are not providing the quality that you wanted, right? Domain-specific, domain knowledge annotators are the most important missing piece on the puzzle to make the data, like to make the model work better. Also, most of the companies are very hesitant to like provide this data outside. So like these annotators are like sitting in a clean room where they were not having like access to download or take screenshots of any of the data, so that way the data is very much protected. We are a SOC 2 Type 2 compliant facility. Also, we have like GDPR and TPN certification as well. So why TPN, right? Like, so we work with a lot of media companies where we get to see the content of the videos before it being like launched to the general audience. So these data needs to be super secure, and we also wanted to make sure that like, the proper annotation has been done on this data. So TPN Gold certified, like, ensures that like, these data are completely secure and it is like handled by the right people. And finally, tooling support. We have multimodal support. Like we have been in the industry for almost 5 years now, worked with bigger LiDAR companies where we annotate almost 10,000 frames a week, which is almost like 600 to 700 annotators working on a day in, day out. And very specifically, we also focus on generative AI and medical use cases as well. So from the company milestones, like we are like 5+ years in business, over 100, right now it's more than 200 plus customers. And one of the good thing is like we have been growing over 100% year on year. Like I said, like started as a 20 people, and today we are a 2,200 employee company within a span of 4 years, which talks about like the quality is, why is it important, why the companies are leaning towards the model. And we are almost like created more than 500 million labels across like variety of use cases, inclusive from like generative AI to any computer vision related models. So why Objectways? Um, we are platform agnostics. Like there's been a lot of talk over the last few days about Meta being acquiring Scale.ai in this like market, right? Like, this is where like there is a company that needs to be like platform agnostic, so which can lead to like any platform can be used. There is a reason behind it. There are like certain tools perform really well towards certain models, right? When it comes to segmentation and whatnot, there are very specific tools that performs like better than other tools. When it comes to LiDAR, there are like very specific tools. That's the reason we decided to be a holistic multi-platform team rather than sticking with one platform. Although we have our own platform that is very specific for companies, when they need that, they wanted to have a clean, they wanted to have an air-gapped solution. That's when we have our own platform deployed in the customer side. We also provide an end-to-end solutions when it comes to data. Like if you don't have the data, company reach out to us and ask for data collections, any sort of data. So we provide them with image data, text data, any sort of data that's available in the market today. Also, our annotation teams are pretty we don't require anybody with a long-term contract. There is a very specific reason as well for that, because these projects changes quite often. Teams started working on something and eventually they move into a different direction and wanted to have a very different models to be created. So the team needs to be very flexible, ready to adhere to changes, and that's exactly what we are working on this. And finally, we also have a very wide variety of expertise when it comes to multimodal expertise. Today, most of the companies are focusing towards not just with one data. You have the data that's coming in both audio, video. The annotation needs to be done on both the things at the same time. So what are all the areas that we focus today? Today we have data annotation, anything with respect to computer vision, NLP, generative AI, audio, video, and data collection side as well on the same thing. And finally, the content moderations as well. So this is one of the case study I want to talk about. So with everybody is creating a large language model at this point. There is this company that we have been working with them for almost 4 years now. They wanted to create a large language model. They have a large amount of data sets with respect to the medical data. And when initially this data was annotated by the team who are not domain experts, which leads to almost 12% of hallucination. So when they reached out to us, we started focusing on re-annotating the whole data with domain-specific experts. We have radiologists on the payroll. We have people who are very focused on understanding the nitty-gritty things of healthcare-related data. So we re-annotate the whole data, fine-tune the data set again, which reduced from 12% to 2%, which also leads to more adoption for the customer. So this is another use case. Even though we work on a very wide variety of computer vision use cases, one of the use cases, this is a basically this is for a retail customer. We have been capturing the data, and then when we looked into the data, we found out there are many occluded low light cases were missing, which leads to identify why the model is not performing as good as it should be. So we asked them to go back and then collect mostly very specific to edge cases, low light cases, different angles. We did the whole thing, recollected the whole data, and then immediately the accuracy went from 78 to 95%. So how we work today? So when we started this initiative, when we started our journey, we started as saying that companies give us the data, we start annotating, not too many questions asked. But today, over the period of 5 years, we understand the importance of this data. So we work with the companies, ask more questions around what's your goal associated to this? Why is this model important? What is the model trying to solve here? And based on that, we do a POC and then provide curated data set on a POC data, make sure that that's the ideal data set, they like it, and then run scripts against it to understand the kappa score, F1 score, and whatnot. And finally, once we get into the annotation phase, we start working on the annotation, and human in the loop is also involved in case if the model is not performing well. There will be when the confidence score is less, it will be sent to the human in the loop, and the human looks into the data, re-annotate the data, push it back for retraining, and that's exactly what the complete iteration starts. And finally, we also have there's two ways to validate the quality. One is mission validation, where there is also human validation. We more lean towards the a human validation if the mission validation is not accurate. So from a data vendor to a thought partners, when we are We are one of the preferred vendor for a lot of customers today. We are working with companies where like helping them with creating the large language model to like help them with the simple, like, somebody wants to create a simple, more complex computer vision model. So today we are just not labeling services company anymore. We are also your strategic data partner. So we help not only like with creating collection of the data annotation and whatnot, we also like provide the complete data sets and debug your data sets as well. Finally, let's elevate your model with the premium data, because in order for your model to perform really well, you definitely need a better data point. So these are some of the companies we are supporting today. Being the preferred vendor for AWS, we have almost like 1,500 employees focusing very specific to projects from anywhere between like a simple to more complex AGI related projects as well. We work with Torque Robotics, we work with Plus AI, where we do a lot of data annotation with respect to the LiDAR initiatives. And finally, this is our leadership team at this point. We also have our own platform called TensorAct. We also have a product officer very specifically focusing on this, and this can be deployed anywhere. Our TensorAct platform can be either it is a SaaS platform, but it also, like I said, it's an air gap solution which can be implemented into a customer location or the customer cloud, so they can be more comfortable that the data is not leaving their environment. Thank you so much for attending my session. Thank you all.